everyone. Buddhism has been a recurring theme on the World University channel in recent months. We have noticed that you, the loyal viewers of the channel, greatly enjoy this topic. Whether you are Buddhists who have been and are practicing the path of the Buddha, or simply individuals passionate about exploring new things in science and the universe, you definitely should not miss this video. Today, we will explore the theory of dependent origination, the most fundamental teaching of the Buddha. This theory helps people clearly see the truth about themselves, life, and the value of happiness. The theory of dependent origination is also the meeting point between Buddhism and scientists in various fields. As a result, both sides have reaped great benefits from these encounters. Journey to the West. So they devised all sorts of schemes to capture the monk to satisfy their greed, to live forever, eternally young. This detail clearly reflects the nature of human beings always clinging and attaching, which is the stubborn mindset that one's body and soul have an eternal self and one seeks every way to protect, nurture, take pride in, and suffer over it. Nevertheless, no one in the world, not even the Buddha, can overcome the law of impermanence in life. Understanding the principle of dependent origination will help you realize many more things. The principle of dependent origination is concisely recorded in the sutra as follows. If this exists, that comes to be. From the arising of this, that arises. If this does not exist, that does not come to be. From the cessation of this, that ceases. A simple example of the principle of dependent origination in nature is as follows. Because there are clouds, it rains. Because it has rained, the road becomes wet and slippery. Because the road becomes wet and slippery, a person walking falls. Because that person falls, that person gets injured. Here, rain occurs because there are clouds in the sky. The road becomes wet and slippery because it rained. A person's fall is due to the road being wet and slippery. That person's injury is due to the fall. And countless subsequent events are triggered by the initial cloud. Conversely, if we ask, what creates clouds? Due to the condensation of water vapor. Why does condensate? Due to high temperatures, water evaporates into the sky. Thus, before that, there were also countless causes forming the clouds, which we cannot fully enumerate. In the chain of events that occur, we see that an event occurs because a previous event occurred and influences it to arise. And after arising, it in turn influences another event to occur. Every natural phenomenon that occurs in this world can be explained based on a chain of interdependence or mutual dependence, meaning it never occurs independently. Nothing arises without an origin or an initial cause from a previous event. More deeply, if there is no previous event influencing this event to occur, then this event also cannot occur. And in turn, it influences or creates the conditions for the event after it to occur. And this process continues on and on. In summary, all phenomena that occur can be traced back to their prior origins, and can also lead to other phenomena, which are results generated from them, due to their influence and conditions. To better understand the nature of dependent origination, let's look at a practical example from famous scientists. It begins with the concept of non-locality in quantum mechanics. This is a famous thought experiment proposed by Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen in 1935 in an effort to prove that the interpretation of quantum mechanics was flawed and that the theory was incomplete. This experiment can be described simply as follows. Imagine a particle decaying into two photons, A and B. The law of symmetry indicates that they will always move in opposite directions. If it goes west, we will see B go east. Everything seems normal and perfect. However, we are overlooking the strange nature of the quantum world. Like light, these photons can exist as waves or particles. Before being detected by a detector, quantum theory says they exists as a wave. A wave that is not localized. There is a probability that it could be found in any direction. Only when detected does it know it is moving west. However, if A does not know which direction it is going before being detected, how can B guess what A is doing to adjust its behavior appropriately to go opposite to A? According to Einstein, this is unlikely, unless A synchronously informs B of its direction. Thus, he believed there was some hidden variable yet to be discovered to explain this phenomenon. In the early 1980s, technology had finally matured enough for physicists like Albert Einstein and his team in Paris to conduct a series of experiments on interacting photon pairs, meaning photons that interact with each other. In Einstein's experiment, photons A and B were kept 12 meters apart, and it was found that B always instantly knew what it was doing and responded accordingly. Physicists also confirmed that no light signals were exchanged between A and B, because the atomic switches attached to the detectors for A and B allowed them to measure the arrival time of each photon with extreme precision. They found the timing of the two photons was different. Thus, it can be affirmed that A and B had no prior communication. Separated by 10 kilometers, yet their behavior remained perfectly correlated. This is explained when we realize A and B have become part of an inseparable reality. Even if each particle is at opposite ends of the universe, A does not need to send a signal to B because they share the same reality. Quantum mechanics thus eliminates all notions of locality and brings a holistic view of space. With these two interacting photons, the concept of here and there becomes meaningless. Because here is also there. That is what physicists call the non-locality of space. This parallels the Buddhist notion of dependent origination in the phenomenal world. Buddhism sees this world as a vast flow, consisting of interconnected and mutually influencing events. Meanwhile, the way we perceive this flow fixes certain aspects of the inseparable universe. From that, an illusion is created that there are completely independent entities separate from each other and detached from us. Thus, the biggest question raised is, if every event that occurs has its cause, then what is the first cause, or when does the cause end? In primitive times, everyone observed strange phenomena occurring in nature and was always curious to find satisfying explanations. However, because they did not know the law of dependent origination and feared supernatural and superhuman forces, it was natural that they tried to explain through religious beliefs and deities. Primitive people believed that when the wind rose, it was because the wind god was wandering or preparing to marry a lover. If science accepted this type of explanation and did not investigate causes according to the law of dependent origination, we would likely not know that wind or storms, i.e., the movement of air, are merely due to differences in air pressure in different places. Superstitious or theistic explanations, which put an end to questions or free scientific inquiry in primitive times. Because at that time, people could no longer ask who created the wind god or what the wind god depends on to exist. The law of dependent origination is a scientific principle that has been and is being applied in all reasoning or research in science and technology in this world. But if we raise the issue of first causes, that means it's the end. That is, once asked, there is no further progressive reasoning or advancement, and the discovery of natural law stops. Because if we keep tracing back and asking, we will never find the first cause. Regarding the issue of the ultimate origin of sentient beings, the Buddha said, O monks, the beginning of the cycle of samsara is inconceivable. The origin of sentient beings cannot be seen. Sentient beings are shrouded by ignorance and attached to desires, constantly coming and going, drifting far in the cycle of samsara of birth and death. We can see that the Buddha also did not raise the issue of the first cause or the final cause. Because everything, being caused, always exists and is eternal in that way. The Buddha taught that all phenomena are without self, and all conditioned things are impermanent. All things arise and cease due to causes and conditions. Dependent origination is not only a doctrine explaining the operating principle of all phenomena in the world. From physical to psychological, not a single phenomenon forms or changes outside this law. This is also the first theory to refute the philosophical system of the Brahmins. Denying the creator God of Brahma to form the idea of self-creation and self-experience. One is responsible for oneself, elevating the position of human. Humans are the masters of themselves. No one else has the authority to determine their lives. In the Buddha's time, the doctrines of sects taught people to cling to self and possessions. They created a supreme being, a creator to worship and rely on. Therefore, by discovering and proclaiming the theory of dependent origination, with the argument that all things, big and small, from planets in the universe to tiny dust particles and grains of sand, are all due to the combination of causes and conditions. From the body to the world, nothing truly exists. The Buddha affirmed the selflessness of the Dharma realm, and initiated a great ideological revolution at that time. With the middle way view, not distinguishing object and subject, nothing is absolute, one is all is one. One is all is one. Dependent origination is a clear, eloquent, and convincing answer to the question humanity has long awaited. Moreover, the theory of dependent origination is a source affirming the freedom and equality of all people, completely rejecting the theory of class and racial discrimination created by the exploiting class to serve the purpose of social domination and the interests of the exploiting class. Therefore, more than 2,500 years later, the scientist Einstein stated, "If there is any religion that can cope with the needs of modern science, it is Buddhism." Buddhism does not need to abandon its views to follow science, because Buddhism includes science as well as transcends science. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha taught, with the complete cessation of craving and ignorance, formations cease. With the cessation of formations, consciousness ceases, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair cease. Thus, O monks, thus is cessation. When ignorance ends, we see the selflessness of phenomena, the impermanence of formations, no longer clinging to self, thus attaining supreme enlightenment, ending the cycle of birth and death. The value of liberation from suffering here is that dependent origination returns humans to their role as masters of their own death, while opening for sentient beings the path to liberation from the cycle of birth and death, leading humans and all beings to the shore of peace and happiness. But we Buddhists live as laypeople, meaning we vow to be reborn in the human realm, with a life of sufficient wealth and a beautiful body. Then the value of liberation and enlightenment is the true, scientific view of the existence of body and mind and the immutable law of birth, existence, decay, and death. So as not to claim, be attached, suffer, or be enslaved by the realities of life. In reality, the cells in our bodies are constantly changing, and every 7 years these cells are completely renewed. This very change causes us to grow quickly, age quickly, and of course, die quickly. Because of the impermanence of the body, the ancients had a saying, "The body is like a shadow cast in the evening, spring grass grows lush, autumn passes and it withers and falls. None of the rise and fall of worldly affairs, prosperity, boating." Of a moment ago to the principle of dependent origination is truly beneficial for those suffering from serious illnesses, or the elderly and weak who need to let go. This doctrine helps such people accept illness, endure pain, and face death calmly and naturally. That doctrine helps us not to act for our own selfish interests, to be greedy, to always seek our own gain, but to open up the light of freedom and happiness. Understanding that doctrine, we avoid many entanglements, class divisions, racial discrimination, ethnic strife, wars of slaughter, killing of sentient beings, spreading terrible suffering to humans and all species. Dependent origination helps us clearly see the interdependent arising and ceasing of all phenomena in the universe. No phenomenon can exist independently. Accordingly, this contains that, and every part is both a cause and simultaneously an effect, illustrating the causal relationship of all things. Extending this to social relations, when understanding dependent origination, each person will realize that their individual existence in life is not only due to the birth and upbringing by parents, nor is it solely the house built from bricks earned by one's own labor, but they will recognize that the existence of their body and mind in the world is a harmonious combination of countless phenomena. Saying this shows that our presence and existence in this life is a miraculous phenomenon of all dharmas. Our warm, happy life is achieved thanks to the contributions of many others. Our stable job and livelihood also have the contributions of many other individuals. And in the success of others, there must have been our contribution, however small. From this correct and positive daily perspective, Buddhists grow to love life more, strive harder and work to contribute to the common development of society. Dependent origination not only gives people a comprehensive view of life, but from there, it guides and directs people to strive to transform ignorance, develop wisdom, and see the ultimate in the true nature of all dharmas. Whoever realizes this law through right view and right thinking can abandon the swamp of clinging and attain a peaceful and happy life. That is the practical value of dependent origination and a profound lesson about life. The sutras record the Buddha's first enlightenment about humans. First, he saw that human suffering is due to birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief. The reason for having aging, sickness, and death is because there is birth. Why is there birth? Because of becoming. Becoming is the desire for existence in a future life. Why is there the desire to live forever? Because of clinging. Clinging is always grasping tightly, holding on firmly. Why is there clinging? Because of craving. Because of feeling there is craving. Because of contact there is feeling. Because of the six sense bases there is contact. Because of name and form there are the... Because of consciousness there is name and form. Because of volitional formations there is consciousness. Because of ignorance. After the potential for enlightenment, insight revealed the second thread that causes humans to undergo the cycle of birth and death. The Buddha began to contemplate these things. And in the first way, the Buddha contemplated dependent origin. With ignorance as condition, volitional formations arise. That is, because of ignorance. Volitional formations are mental states or mental factors. Ignorance is the cause, the condition that produces the effect, which is volitional. With volitional formations as condition, consciousness arises. When a person dies, consciousness departs from the physical body, and according to karma, the beginning is name and form. With name and form as condition, the six sense spheres or six sense bases arise. Eye, ear, nose, tongue. These six bases come into contact with worldly phenomena, thus contact arises. Craving is desire. When there is craving, one wants to hold on tightly, that is, clinging arises. When there is clinging, the desire for life to continue in this life or the next arises, thus becoming arises. Because there is becoming, the force leading to rebirth arises. Because there is birth, then there will be aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. These are the factors constituting second contemplation. The Buddha reasoned about dependent origination and reverse. That is, because this is not present, that is not present, because this ceases, that ceases. Thus, if a person completely abandons greed, has the wisdom to clearly understand that the nature of the world is impermanent, suffering, and non-self, has the wisdom to clearly understand karma, rebirth, and dependent origination, then there is no more ignorance. The cessation of ignorance leads to the cessation of volitional. The cessation of volitional formations leads to the cessation of consciousness. The cessation of consciousness leads to the cessation of name and form. The cessation of name and form leads to the cessation of the six sense bases. The cessation of contact leads to the cessation of feeling. The cessation of feeling leads to the cessation of craving. The cessation of craving leads to the cessation of clinging. The cessation of clinging leads to the cessation of becoming. The cessation of becoming leads to the cessation of birth. The cessation of birth thus is the complete cessation of the results of the factors that cause suffering. Third contemplation, the Blessed One observed dependent origination in the forward and reverse order once again. After completion, he arranged it into a system with both forward and reverse directions. Because this exists, that exists. Because this arises, that arises. Because this does not exist, that does not exist. Because this ceases, that ceases. That is, due to the condition of ignorance, there are formations. Due to the condition of formations, there is. Thus is the arising of this whole mass of through the cessation, fading away, and non-running of ignorance. With the cessation of formations, conscious. Thus is the cessation of this whole mass of. After realizing the principle of dependent origination, the Buddha attained supreme enlightenment. Achieving the unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, he became the teacher of gods and humans. Simultaneously, he is revered as the unique historical Buddha in this Saha world. That is precisely the Buddha Shakyamuni.